Hey, English 10 students, I want to spend a couple minutes talking about the similarities and the differences between literary analysis and rhetorical analysis. So, both types of analysis are looking at the text and breaking them down. Literary analysis is analyzing fictional texts like novels, short stories, and poems. So, we're looking at fiction. Rhetorical analysis is analyzing nonfiction like speeches, articles, commercials, and letters. So, depending on what kind of text you're analyzing, you're looking for different things. In rhetorical analysis, when we're looking at speeches and commercials, they usually have a purpose. They usually want to convince the reader of something, or they want to like call the reader to action. In literary analysis, it's more about the greater meaning. Okay, so it's more about a theme. It's giving a statement about what it's like to be human. Okay, so literary analysis, fiction, greater meaning; rhetorical analysis, nonfiction, author's purpose. So when we're analyzing the greater meaning in literary analysis, we look at characters and we look at plot, what's happening in the story, and how both of those things contribute to the greater meaning. So usually when a character learns something, it helps us to learn something about humans. Or when something tragic happens to a character, it also helps us to understand a greater meaning about humans. In rhetorical analysis and nonfiction texts, we look at the rhetorical appeals. So, how is the author using their credibility, emotions, and logic to appeal to the audience, to help the audience agree with their standpoint? We also look at how the text is organized. What does the speaker do first? Maybe they compliment the audience or they make the audience feel good to draw the audience in. And then after that, maybe they give some statistics or some logical reason. So, why does the speaker do things in a certain order? We look at the organization, the step one, step two, step three of the speech, and we think about why did the speaker put it in that order and how did that help them to achieve their purpose? Now, there's a lot of overlap between rhetorical analysis and literary analysis. Both of them talk about the effect of sound devices. So, for example, alliteration. When we use the same sound at the beginning of multiple words back to back, it draws our attention to that phrase. So, that's something that's true of poems and novels, as well as something that's true of speeches. So, both literary analysis and rhetorical analysis look at sound devices, the way that the words sound and how that affects the audience. Next, figurative language. So metaphors, similes, and hyperboles, as well as imagery, like sensory language, the five senses, those pop up both in poetry and in speeches. So you're going to see that all writers, whether they're writing fiction or nonfiction, are going to use figurative language and imagery, and they affect the audience, whether that's to help us understand a greater meaning in literary analysis or the author's purpose in rhetorical analysis. Um, Both fiction and nonfiction use words with strong connotations. So we identify groups of words with similar connotations, similar feeling, similar emotion behind the words, similar associations, and we discuss the impact of the connotation on the tone. So the tone is the speaker's attitude toward a particular topic. So tone is present both in literary analysis and in rhetorical analysis. And we look at the connotation behind particular words and we see how does that help us to understand the speaker's um, feeling toward a particular topic, and how does that help us to understand either the greater meaning in literary analysis or the purpose in the rhetorical analysis? And then finally, there are lots of other devices like allusion, referring to other culturally significant things, polysyndeton, where you're repeating um, and or but, as well as sentence structure like compound sentences, complex sentences, telegraphic sentences, which are short. So any device like that also helps us in both literary and rhetorical analysis.